Hey, folks, welcome to Citizen Watch, another beautiful Thursday edition, March 27th,
Is this
2014.
Casey Steed?
It is Casey.
I wasn't feeling well Tuesday. I apologize for not being there, but I know my two cohorts in crime, Robert the Velvet Sledgehammer Tomasetti and Steve Colvard, brought it home for you, so hopefully it was a riveting show. I haven't even heard it on YouTube yet. People want to listen to us on YouTube, obviously you just go YouTube search bar KYOS space 1480 AM. All of our shows come up. It's amazing, guys. All of our shows, for some reason, the count stops at 301 hits. It says 301 plus. And
Good.
All of our shows lately have been over 300. I'm just fascinated by that, and just want to thank our listeners for listening to Citizen Watch on KYOS. I did get a nice voicemail from a gentleman. He just wanted to praise the personalities, the chemistry that we have together. He said what we're doing is necessary for the community. We're a voice that's not heard. We're telling the truth where people don't want to hear it sometimes, but it's necessary, and we're getting information out that can't be heard really anywhere else. So I want to.
Well, you know what I think, Case?
I want to thank Vic Lagina for sending in that email, and really
Vic who?
appreciate that.
Boy, that name was a little odd. Okay, hey, you know what? Why don't you tell people that we not only tell the truth, but we also try to shed the light on some untruths where information is being, what's the word I want to look at?
Manipulated.
There you go.
Yep.
Manipulated. Okay, I want it manipulated. I want you to tell everybody about how the county is manipulating your budget, buddy. Come on, Case.
Through accounting gimmickry.
Well, again, we saw in the paper this week. I mean, what have we heard from all of our politicos that come in there? We have
Life is good. Life is looking up.
Laurel and Hardy, the Pedroza boys, coming in telling us every week that.
Hey, which one's Laurel and which one's Hardy?
Huh?
You said the Pedroza boys, Laurel and Hardy. I said, which one's Laurel and which one's Hardy?
Well, if you can't figure that out, folks, look online. But one of those deals where, we always hear we're at the bottom of the well, we're looking up, we're with a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not true. It's a lie.
Didn't you say that a year ago?
On the state level or the federal level and obviously the local level, we saw where our county budget is going to be $10 million.
9.3.
What?
9.3 million.
The situation is when we round up and stuff like that, all I get is emails going, it's not 10, it's 9.3 Hey,
yeah,
9.3
What's $700,000 amongst friends?
Lynn Davis, I don't know if you guys talked any about the Tea Party had a little dog and pony show with the District 3 candidates.
Yeah, Jim Price had a lot to say about that.
Casey?
VFW Hall. What?
Maybe you should listen to our shows on YouTube when you can't make them,
Yeah, well, anyway, Lynn Davis said, he goes, you guys are getting the best deal in the world for $96,000 a year by having me. And he goes, I wouldn't do anything different in the last 4 years.
Stupid is as stupid does.
And all that leads me to say is we need a new representation in District 3. Actually, all the districts need new representation because these guys just don't get it. We're $10 million in the red, and that's just in anticipation. As Brown, the chief executive officer over there, said, that's just a projection. It could go worse because with the drought, folks, we're not going to have any jobs. What did we hear Swigert say? Instead of 4.5 acre feet of water, they're going to get 6 inches. You can't grow anything with 6 inches. Okay? It's not going to work. We're going to be out of money. And what does Supervisor Walsh say? Well, let's wait and see. And then we'll talk to the department heads, the managers about
Case,
services cuts. That's not leadership.
Hey, Case.
Mr. Walsh, Hubert, that's being a follower. You're a failure. And you can't even keep the libraries open. We heard where they're going to close 4 branch libraries. Maybe you ought to get your big sister to show you how to run a library system.
Casey, I got a question for you. Okay. Situation to me, it's really not a question, it's a comment. We know these individuals as individuals and we like them as people, but Hub Walsh, when he says something dumb like let's wait, isn't that what happened with the water? Isn't that why we get ourselves in trouble? There's no proactiveness. There's no, hey, let's get on this while the getting's good. Instead, here's how I look at it. Robert Tomasetti's house, we're going to project it to be worth $22 million. I'm like, these projections are like so out of sight, it's not even funny. And that's what the state does. And every time they sniff a little bit of black, they got to spend money. How about if you just sit and wait on that money? You want to sit and wait on the results. Why don't you sit and wait before you spend the money, okay, on massive salaries?
Well, it's the same thing we see with the teachers. We have a teacher that sits on the city council, and they put themselves raises over there at the high school district. And yet, California State Teachers' retirement system is in the red to $100 billion. And all we see, what does Testa want? More bonds, another $60 million bond.
Now that leads me to something here, Case. I'm very critical of Merced Union High School District. Everybody knows that, okay? And I'm not a big fan of Leonard Kahn, and I'm not a big fan of Vinny Scambray. Hell with the Scott. His name is Vinny. Own up, fess up. Your mother named you Vincent.
You're gonna get whooped, dude.
I might get whooped, but what do I care? Anyways, Livingston and Golden Valley High School is getting ready to go high tech, right? So I'm like, how are they getting ready to go high tech? And it says the Merced Union High School District will be spending about $8.7 million from different funding sources to see that by August, all students have their own computer for instruction, a Google Chromebook. Now, where are they going to get the $8 million? Well, this is interesting. Okay, Leonard Kahn, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, said the district received about $5.5 million in funding, okay, through the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, called E-rate funds. When I took a trip over to Crookshank School and I talked to the lady at the principal at Crookshank School. She was very nice. She was very accommodating. I looked at the school. The school looked very, very nice. I mean, it was well kept. And I said, where do you need $10.5 million? I mean, this is what Ken Testa and Dr. Duran, I don't know if she's a doctor, but anyways, but Rosemarie Parga Duran, the superintendent, they need $10.5 million, they said, for your school. What's that for? Oh, well, it's for the upgrades for, the computers, our systems. Well, wait a minute. Instead of passing a hat to the damn teacher, instead of passing a hat to the parents and the citizens, why don't they do like Leonard Kahn did and give Leonard a call and say, Lenny, hey, buddy, how in hell did you get $5.5 million from the FCC? We'd like a piece of that. Can you show us how to go get that money? Okay, and you wouldn't have...
How they cut back? What would you do? I think Robert heard a great comment from a local business owner, somebody that has to balance a budget to keep his doors open. When you're running out of money in your own home, you don't give yourself raises like the supervisors did. They hide behind the judges' robes. Well, the judges got a raise. We should get a raise. Meanwhile, they're laying off county employees, furloughing county employees. The failure that is AB 109, we're putting deputies. I have a friend that's a deputy sheriff. He's working 80 hours a week over there.
He's loving it.
40. Yeah, you damn right he's loving it.
Double time, triple.
When he retires, that all goes towards his pension.
Because they get the spike.
That's right, and we have these 200,000, and you can't blame the system, folks. We don't blame Mark Pazin. We don't blame these employees for taking advantage of the system, because I'll tell you what, you and I would do the exact
Yeah, but wait a minute. Here's who I blame.
What has to happen is the system has to change, and so you have leaders, or supposed leaders, BOS, Board of Supervisors like Hubert Walsh, that say, well, let's wait and see.
Yeah, but
what are you waiting for? The train to run you over?
But here's what I have a problem with, Case. I disagree with you when you say, we shouldn't hate the player, we should hate the game. I agree with you with the Mark Pazins, okay? Because it morphed while he was on. But when Pat Lunny at 66, 67 years old throws his hat in the ring, and you look at why a man would want to be the sheriff as a post-retirement career, and you're like, why? And the obvious answer that everybody keeps saying is he's going to max out on his retirement. Instead of getting $6,000 a month, he's going to get $16,000 a month. What would you do? Those are the people that I have a problem with, because they know what the system is and they hawk for it. And that's what I have a problem with. Not Mark morphing to it because he was with the sheriff's department for 30 years. Not that. But the guys who come up and go, wow, I see an angle over here. Let me exploit it. Don't hate me. Hate the system. Change the game. Well, that's true. But you're also pandering, like Greg Wellman, for these retirements so that you can go off into the sunset and live the high life.
Well, this is why we have controls in society. This is why people used to go to church. It's called morals. It's called ethics. It's called personal responsibility, and we've lost that.
But tell them what
the supervisors have absolutely zero zero leadership capabilities in trying to change the playing field. You know, the Madera County Board of Supervisors, they got that same pay raise tied to the judges, but they gave it back. They put it back into the general fund for the benefit of all the county employees because they realized we're not out of the woods. We're not in a fiscally,
leadership by example case.
What's the word? Sustainable that we like to use. And CEO Jim Brown over there is trying to run a kindergarten class up there on the third floor with these inept leaders. And I use the word really loosely because they're followers. We had a whole diatribe about followers and leaders, and these people are followers. To hear Lynn Davis say, well, I hope revenue increases. Lynn, I hope you don't get reelected.
I hope.
Because you have no idea how to run a government. You couldn't schedule a kid's birthday party, let alone run a county with a $500 million budget.
You know what, Case? You're absolutely right. But do me a favor. You digressed a little bit, and I'd like you to do that. Tell us again, because you went into what your friend as a sheriff, but you were saying about when a local business leader in town said that when times are tough, go ahead and...
Yeah, what do you do? What do you do when we all have budgets, Steve and Robert, the Sledge, and myself. We all have a certain amount of monthly income, yearly income. It may fluctuate month to month. I get that. But in the course of a year, you know about what you're going to bring in, and you have your expenses. You have your house payments. You got your utility payments, rent, your discretionary spending. And when you find yourself in the red, as the county has in the last 5 years, folks, 5 years, they haven't been able to do a damn thing over there. What do? You don't spend as much money, or you cut back on your frivolous expenses.
Charitable.
You don't go to the movies all the time. Maybe you rent a DVD instead of going over there to Main Place Merced and watching a movie. You don't go to Fifth, the 5 and 10 Bistro over there. Maybe you go to McDonald's and hit that dollar menu, or Steve likes to do, Jack in the Box, those 2 tacos for $1.
Well, Steve lives with his mom still, so he's got it pretty easy.
Whatever. Or, Casey, there is an alternative to that. Instead of tightening the belt, you can also raise taxes, or you can float bonds.
That's what the Democrats want to do.
Or you can raise fees.
Again, come after your property.
Yeah.
Well, my problem is, Casey, is that their projections, and I was getting into that, their projections are so silly and asinine. We're projecting Robert Tomasetti's house to be worth $350,000. Well, when the projections are nowhere near, okay, I mean, that's the point. We're projecting this, we're projecting that. Now, here's my question. I know that there are 2 ladies that work for the county that are definite CPAs. How come I never hear I'll give you a name that you tell me if you even know what she does. Is Lisa Presto. Now, Lisa Presto was supposed to be, what does she do there? Okay, now isn't she going to the supervisors and saying, hey, I'm a CPA and I've looked at this and this doesn't work and this doesn't make sense and our projections are unattainable, so let's get to reality? Or do we do like Hub Walsh says and let's wait? Now, when we... Yeah, and when the hole is huge...
That's what Hubert says.
When the hole is catastrophic, and then you got Lynn Davis on the other hand holding out his hand for hope, I'm just like, are you guys serious?
Well, and these guys missed the projection. Both of them said, well, we knew it was going to be a deficit, maybe $4 or $5 million. No, you're half off. And we haven't even hit the fiscal year yet.
Wow.
We've seen the same thing happen in Atwater.
Can I ask you a question?
Just passed a balanced budget, and when I say balanced, every dollar in and every dollar out. They have no reserves. Davis on the Board of Supervisors says, well, we have a little bit of reserves we can use. No, you can't. You're supposed to have a minimum rainy day fund in the bank. They're way underfunded in that. It would be foolish to use more reserves, but nobody's going to make the tough decisions that you or Steve or I would have to make in our household, or all of the listeners that are listening. They just can't go to a rainy day fund or raise the taxes on themselves. They have to show fiscal responsibility. And this is what's lacking in our Board of Supervisors is leadership.
Yeah, but Casey, we've been saying this. And you know what? I'm going to be very honest. After really assessing this, it's worse than leadership. Okay, John Pedroso says, "Oh, we don't always lead. Sometimes we rely on staff." Well, you have Lisa Presto, who's a CPA. You have Karen Adams, who's a CPA. Why don't you get them up on the third floor and say, "Guys, what do you think of these books? Isn't that their job?" I know Karen Adams is a tax collector, but what does Lisa Presto do? Isn't she like the what is? I mean, I don't even know what her. I mean, she's a nice lady, but
I don't know what she does. There's a lot of people over there with 6-figure incomes that I'm still trying to figure out how they contribute to the growth of this county. And we need to make some changes over there. You know, we're not bringing anything in the economic development section. We heard Robert's story a few weeks ago about how a private business owner approached the county and was completely stonewalled, treated like some sort of pariah coming in there. How dare you ask?
Yeah.
Write me a check.
You're bothering me.
To you.
You're bothering me. Hey, Case,
you're bothering me. I mean, give me a break. It's just pathetic, folks. How many years? Like I say, 5 years in a row now in the red. And last year we heard him say, "Oh, it's getting better. It's getting better." It's just like these teachers with Proposition 30 that was passed last November. There was a very interesting article in the Modesto Bee that folks should go and research. The number of teachers that are getting over 6 figures a year. I'm not talking about the Gomes of the world, the superintendents that don't do anything. I'm talking about the teachers that are supposed to be in the trenches getting 6 figures a year. We're still turning out dummies, 46th in the nation, and yet the only reason they give themselves raises is because they have a perceived more money. But it's not. It's wrong.
Case.
It's a lie.
Case.
It's accounting gimmickry.
Right, but this is not a lie. We're at our break.
Okay. Well, folks, stay tuned for our second segment of Citizen Watch on KYOS with Rob, Steve, and Casey. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, welcome back to the second segment of
Man, you're
Citizen
discombobulated.
Watch. Well, I get a little upset over this. I mean, and I know people are probably tired of hearing me rant and rave about the supervisors and the lack of leadership.
Then have them do something.
Old. Doesn't it get old? Anyway, welcome back to Citizen Watch on AM 1480 KYOS, the voice of the Valley. What, Robert? Did you hit a button wrong?
No, he's going.
Oh, good. Well,
he's writing
Robert's
his little
running
black
the board
book
over there. We're giving Steve a little break. We're trying to multitask. It's kind of like when you're on the space shuttle. Everybody's supposed to know everybody's job in case somebody gets sucked out a hatch. So
you got sucked out of.
We're trying to learn how.
When are you coming back?
And Robert, since he's there in studio, is playing with the button.
When are you coming back?
Really
by the way,
appreciate him stepping up to the plate and taking that task. I think he even came in last week and helped with the Saturday show, which. I want to encourage people to listen to all of our programming. You may not like what you hear. You may not like this show. You may think my voice is just droning on, and you can't wait to turn it like some of our other guests. But it's one of those deals where I think it's important. Again, I really appreciate our one listener, Vic Legina, for writing in and saying how much he liked what he heard on the air. So it's one of those deals where we just try to forward the conversation a little bit and make sure that people are at least informed and they can go out, because we're coming up to the election season. It's the crazy season. We're going to have to start getting the proponents, the people that want to be voted into office. They're going to start making it through our studios, and we would encourage them all to come in, even if they're uncontested, like Adam Gray, like Jerry O'Banion, like Larry Morris. We would encourage them to come in and at least give us their vision for the next 4 years or 2 years, whatever their term is. And then, of course, some of the heavily contested races, like Lynn Davis's seat. Does he deserve it? Does that kind of leadership deserve it? Another 4 years? Like he said, it's the best value in government. Oh, God. Hold on, I've got to get my barf bag out. But anyway, we're hopefully going to have these people come in and talk to them and get their vision. And like I say, we're just one opinion, folks. If there's anybody out there that disagrees with us, we encourage you to call the station, get on the air, come on into studio.
I got a better idea.
It's a beautiful, beautiful studio, as I can tell you. We have coffee. What?
I have a better idea.
What's that?
I know that we get, like, for example, Barbara Levy's uncontested.
That's another one, yeah.
Larry Morse is uncontested. How about instead of doing that, why don't we invite, the 5 blind mice on the 3rd floor, and we get them to come down, and we get them to tell us what their vision is, and we corner them, because I'm going to tell you, it's like yesterday, when I read 9.3 million, and my question is, last year when you were saying we're in the red, and they kept saying no, we're in the black barely, how in the world do they report that they're in the black barely, and now they're $9.3 million upside down in 6 months?
They're either liars or they're ignorant. Now,
How about they're both?
Excuse ignorance, but I can't excuse lying.
You think
Okay?
both,
Now,
or what?
We have, like I say, we have Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy, coming in every other week, telling us how everything's rosy and happy. Hey, by the way, Johnny, when are they going to break ground on that railroad, that Brown Street coming up to April? Is that going to happen? You want to bet a lunch on it, Johnny?
Lunch.
Can I take that to the next level?
What?
And say
Sure.
that Supervisor Lynn Davis is counting on us having the high-speed rail maintenance facility here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Castle.
he is so full of crap. There is no place over there in Castle to put the high-speed maintenance facility.
They don't have enough
Not even
land.
on the Santa Fe right-of-way. To veer the tracks off over there to Castle, they'd have to take out Beechwood, which, personally, between you and I, probably wouldn't be a bad idea. But it's one of those deals where it's not going to happen.
Well, but the thing, this is what I just don't understand. Where is their vision? Where is their vision? What exactly? I'm getting tired of this manipulations, which I do know the word is manipulation. I'm just playing. But the point is that I'm tired of the manipulation of the information. I'm tired of it coming from the state. I'm tired of coming from the city. I'm tired of it coming from the county. If we're $9.3 million upside down, I got a real good answer for you. Are you ready for this case? I know how to solve this problem in 6 seconds. Okay? Okay. How much is the budget? $450 million?
It's $458 million.
Okay, Casey, $9 million of that represents 2%, right?
2%. That's exactly right.
Just like my milk, why don't we take 2% across the board? Everybody 2%. Done. There's your $9 million.
2% salary cuts?
Well, what they'll tell you, they can't do that, Robert. You got all the Section 8, you got the food stamps, you got all these welfare programs.
Okay.
You can't cut those, Rob.
Okay, hold on. You're paying the price. I'm paying the price. Steve's paying the price. Every taxpayer, every listener is paying the price except welfare people.
That's right.
Welfare people are getting pay raises. Okay, so why don't we go to Anna Pagan and say, Anna, how about we do this? How about we cut the $9.3 million from your $250 million budget or whatever the ungodly amount is? Why don't we start looking at abuses in the system? Why don't we start looking at people that no longer live here or people that move here? Why don't we give them the 6 weeks elimination period like their counties do instead of giving them their money in 3 days? Okay, why don't we do that?
Merced is known for that. You can get on the dole in 24 hours, folks.
Okay.
24 hours in Merced County.
And why don't we do that? Why don't we cut the 9? I mean, let me be honest, okay? I give to charities. There's some charities that I believe in. Okay, one of it is the Italo Lodge. Love the Italo Lodge. It's my heritage. It's like extended family. When I'm a little strapped for cash, I don't go to the Italo and donate money or donate things like I could. So what's a donation according to the county? Welfare. So why don't we cut $9.3 million, trim some of that budget? I know what you could do right away. I read in a newspaper 2 weeks ago that the school systems are now trying to push fruits and vegetables through the schools, like I said they should. With that, and with what WIC does, Anna Pagan's make someone happy is no longer a necessary function. So there's $170,000 we could start with.
Are you talking about Moosey the cow?
Moosey the cow.
Yeah, you got Don and Nancy Bergman, pushing this old polluting beer truck around. And I'm sure they haven't got that diesel exhaust filter on yet.
You know where I found them?
They're pushing that around, and yet here we are closing 4 public library branches. We're going to close the George Library over there in South Merced. There's another knife in South Merced's heart. Hey, Johnny, you're so worried about opening up a pool. Why don't you take some of that political slush fund money of yours and keep the library open so kids can read books instead of opening up a pool? But no, you won't do that, will you, Johnny?
Yeah, but
that's too hard for you, isn't it? And then we're going to close 3 other libraries in Cressy, South Dos Palace, Stevenson. O'Banion was the only one that had the huevos to say, I'm not going to do it. I did it in the 90s. I'm not going to do it again. But the other gutless 4, old Hubert, your sister runs the library. Maybe she can teach you something about how to keep a book open. But, you can't do it. And so what are we going to do? We're going to have a bookmobile, maybe make it there once a week. Instead, we've got this fruit truck that Robert talks about that doesn't do a damn bit of good, killing kids over there with the diesel exhaust.
Wait, I don't think...
Where's their priorities?
Yeah, but Case, I don't think they're killing kids anymore because I saw them on Highway 59 in some abandoned lot. I'm like, why is these sites just morphing? It was supposed to be 7 spots, started with 7 spots, then it morphed into the kids. It gets weirder and weirder as I look into it. And Don Bergman is a nice man, and he comes to me and he wants to set the record straight, and he comes to me all the time and he says, let's have coffee. Let's do lunch. His wife, his wife, Nancy, Robert, Don would like to have lunch with you. I would love to have lunch with Don Bergman, but you know what? I'm afraid I'm going to choke him because I'm going to look at him and go, are you serious? This is a bunch of crap. How about if you just...
Robert had it right all along. When you want to address childhood diabetes, Robert had it all right. You address exercise, nutrition, that sort of things, the things the schools are doing now. And now look what they're doing. They're starting to address. Maybe they're listening to you, Robert.
Maybe. But here's the question that I have, and this is something that's bothering me. When we were kids, we had books. We went to the library. Now everything's on technological advancements. So you could read books on a Kindle. You don't need to. I mean, this is why Barnes & Noble's having issues. This is why Borders went out of business, because they can't compete with the online services. So my question is this, and this is just something that I'm going to throw out there. Excuse me. If Merced Union High School District is going to put the kids all on Chromebooks, that's their goal, is to put all the high schools on Chromebooks.
Right.
Okay, why do we need a library?
Well, and let's talk about that. You say, why do we need a library? How about a Wi-Fi hotspot? Instead of looking at the library as a place with books and stuff, how about having a Wi-Fi hotspot 24 hours a day? Maybe we have some Chromebooks, we have some workstations in there where kids can do that. But we don't even have that, Robert. We're just closing them down because we don't have the money and we don't have the education. How many times have we heard from Frank Quintero that our workforce there is low to medium skill? How are you going to raise the level in the pond?
That's my point.
Pulling the friggin' drain out of the bathtub and draining the educational knowledge in the pond.
I would love to have Deidre Kelsey sitting right in front of me and saying, where is your vision, lady? For 20 years, where is your vision? Okay, and I'm going to be very honest. I understand why teachers are angry and they want higher pay, because they end up being the pseudo parents, the pseudo nurses, everything. And I understand that. But why? That's because our leaders don't have a vision. It should be segmented. Hey, we got the library for higher education. We got this to help the kids here. Forget the pay raises. Forget Mark Hendrickson's pay raise on $140,000 and making him the broom closet chairman and all this garbage.
Well, let's send Hendrickson to China again. What did that get us, Lynn? Have you seen any Chinese people come over here investing? No, not at all. It was a total bust. They could have used that money for something else.
But you have to. But you know what? I'm going to be very honest with you on that. That's hindsight. I'm expecting, Mark Hendrickson to go out there and go beat the bushes, not sit there and go on a chaperone trip. Okay, I'm expecting, if I'm going to San Francisco and I'm looking for something, I'm going to go and I'm going to see what it is I'm looking for and get my mission accomplished, my vision accomplished. I'm not going to go there to sightsee and then just happen to hear somebody over here something, run back and go, hey, you know what they want? Buddhist temples. Well, I'm sorry, but we don't have no Buddhist temples. Wait, where do you come up with this stuff? It's comedy.
Big deal, cauliflower, broccoli, or something. We don't grow broccoli, Mark. Jeez, these guys. I just tell you, we're so backwards, folks. And here we are in another negative budget. And I tell you, what's going to happen is services are going to suffer. The county employees, the worker bees over there in the trenches at 2222 M Street, over there at the Death Star, they're going to be cut back, furloughed, no raises, asked to do more and more per individual, and that's just not right, while the leaders sit up there in their fat chairs with their fat pensions doing nothing to earn it. And let me tell you, after 10 years, all you county employees that have to put 30 in the bank to get something, oh no, your supervisors, after 10 years, they get the Tier 1 retirement with the cost of living adjustment every year.
And let's not forget pension spiking, because guys like Jerry O'Bannon and Deidre Kelsey, they get paid to come to work every day. They get mileage.
That's right, 55 cents a mile to drive the car from Los Baños. The west side is the best side. 55 cents a mile to come in from Snelling, from your little gold mine over there, and that just gets added onto your wage every day, and that gets part of your pension. How many people in the sound of my voice do you get that, folks? You get 55 cents a mile to drive to work, to come in and vote on a negative budget, to say, Hubert,
you know what?
Let's wait and see.
I got an idea.
Let Hub sit on his haunches for another 6 months and wait and see. I'd like to wait and see him out of office.
I got an idea. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do another field trip? We did a great field trip. I'm going to be very honest. We did a couple of good field trips that ended up changing some things. The panhandling.
The field is vacant now on one of our field trips.
There you go. We don't even have anything to go see. How about if we do this? How about if you and I, when you get back here, we investigate who writes these contracts, okay? Who gives these hefty pay raises? And we pull them into the station, and we expose them for who they are, because I want to know who's lining their pockets. Yes, the 8 people that are running for office, yeah, they're going to get special perks. But who wrote that into their contract? Okay, Tony Thompson. How does that man get paid and get dates and do all kinds of stuff? I mean, wear $300 Stacey Adams shoes, and yet his supervisor never thinks twice about, you've got 12.
And then when you're caught,
I didn't know.
You're allowed to retire.
Yes.
That's the payoff, folks. Most people, they get punished. That's not punishment. I hate to tell you.
Hey, let me ask you just one question before we go to break. Do you think Buttrey thinks that he or feels like he's like a knucklehead right now because he'd be in the catbird seat for the supervisor's job, but instead he's working on some dairy turning a wrench?
Hey, he was next in line for the sheriff's department before he couldn't keep his eyes off of bolt-ons on some of the employees, okay? He screwed up his own life. These people get too arrogant. They get too complacent. They take advantage of the system. They have no respect for it. They might as well just spit in the face of every voter in the county.
Now that's...
And what do we do to reward that? We scrape together every bit of vacation time, sick time, holiday time, every little bit we can to get him his 20 years so he can go out with retirement that you and I will pay for the rest of our lives.
But here's the thing that I'm having a problem with. Okay, that's my one knock against Mark Pazin. I liked him. He was a nice man to me, always treated me fair, never asked him for any favors. But one thing I didn't like about what he handled, and this is where I feel that people need a class in supervision. Anna Pagan letting some lady at $51,000 have a battle wagon at her house with all this body armor and stuff, and nobody knew anything. The other one is Karen Adams. Tony Thompson didn't know anything.
I didn't know.
And Mark Pazin with Buttrey. I didn't know, and we allow these people, I guess it's because we don't want lawsuits or whatever, but why does a man who's stealing from the county, why does a man that is an obvious sexual harasser, why are they allowed to keep their job? They should be fired immediately. You and I would.
I have a feeling maybe they know something that doesn't want to come out. That's the only thing that makes sense, because why wouldn't you do that? Why would you be afraid of your own employees? Maybe they know something?
Yeah. All right, Case, take us out for our second break.
Well, hey, folks, I appreciate you listening to Citizen Watch with Robert, the Velvet Sledgehammer, Tomasetti, Steve Colvard, who's been conspicuously silent. Hopefully he hasn't fallen asleep over there since he's not running the board, but stay tuned for our third and final segment, folks, on KYOS AM 1480.
Be right back.
Tell me when.
You're in.
Hey, we're on the air, folks. Robert is running the board. It's like the flight deck of Malaysian Airlines here. Hopefully we're going to make our destination.
Hey, did you... Wait, real quick.
Used to be an air traffic
controller. But wait real quick. Do you remember what I told you about? Remember when we were talking about this Malaysia, and I said, "How in the world can you lose a plane? Because even though the transponder, which is the little doodaddy 4-digit code that drops off, you still see the radar recognition, the bounce back, right? And you're supposed to provide VFR flight following, so these air traffic controllers know where that plane was. They had to follow it. And did you see what happened? Oh yeah, we saw a couple of the radar blips, and then it disappeared. So why didn't you do like the United States Air Force does and put a circle and grease pencil on your scope, and you say, that's where I saw it last, and start from there?
Right. Well, I know it is kind of unusual. Really, our hearts go out to the victims of that.
Not me. I don't know any of them.
Went nuts, but it was kind of interesting. He attended the sentencing of a political person the day of the flight, about 4 hours before he got in the cockpit and piloted that plane to Beijing or where he was supposed to go. And his
does the pilot work for Merced County?
Person that he was in support of was convicted, and there might be something there. I don't know. Hopefully, we'll find the black box and the recording.
Hey, Case?
Yes.
Does he work part-time as Merced County? Since we're getting all these people that are doing all this weird crap, like, pandering for dates and holding body armor and all that stuff at our home, I was just wondering if maybe the Malaysian Air guy was the Board of Supervisors as, personal pilot and, disenchanted.
No, I don't think they have their own personal pilot yet. They have their own airport. But, folks, welcome back to Citizen Watch. It is our third and final segment. I know the time just flies for people, and I would encourage them to listen every Tuesday and Thursday night at 9 p.m. and Saturday 6 a.m., 6 p.m., where our shows are rebroadcast. I know that one of the county supervisors listens to our show because I got a text message from him right at 7 o'clock last Saturday morning criticizing me for bringing something that was in the paper, and all I can say is we do report the facts, and you're not going to like them. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. But if you want Milquetoast Radio, we have other hours you can listen to on KYOS, or you can just turn the dial, okay? If you don't like my voice, turn the dial. But you know what? You can't help but listening because what we say is the truth. Our words burn. Our thoughts evoke emotions. And that's why people listen to us, and that's why we're the number one show on KYOS, and hopefully we'll continue. One of the things that we're not missing there in Merced County is murders. We've already had 8 bodies in the morgue over there from violence that hasn't been solved. I think only one of the 8 we have a suspect. Over in Winton, the killing fields of Winton, we had 2 murders this weekend. Two people found dead in a garage. Another person shot inside a house. No suspects.
Got a question.
Talking. No snitches.
Got a question.
What is happening over there, Robert?
I have a question.
What?
Okay. Larry Morse was on our show about a month ago, and I asked Larry, I said, why did you attack Supervisor Pedroso for the deaths and the murders in Planada? And he says, well, they're actually in his territory, and so therefore, these murders go unsolved, and then my district attorney's group has to try to solve these crimes, and it costs money on me. Ooh, I don't see Larry going after Deidre Kelsey. Isn't Winton her area?
He should, because we had the Easter murders, as Steve, before we brought you onto this show last Easter, which we're coming up on a year now, the anniversary of these murders. 3 young people gunned down at a party over there in Winton. Remember that, Steve?
Yep, I do.
Yep, I remember that.
Not one lead, not one suspect yet. You can't tell me 3 people get killed at a party and nobody knows.
Well, and here's the thing that I'm upset at is we I wouldn't say character assassinate, but when we how do I put this and be nice? You and we attack everybody that just says stupid stuff and just doesn't look like they're doing their job. Now, after they explain it to us, maybe some of it goes away and some of it gets explained correctly. Did I get a handle on and go, okay, that makes sense to me. But Larry Morris was here complaining. He attacked Pedroso personally because of what was going on in Planada. What are you doing about it? Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, but we've had murders after murders after murders in Winton, and Deidre Kelsey goes without even anybody criticizing her for anything. How does that work?
Well, I don't. I know that Larry was pretty critical about District 1, John Pedroso's district, because a majority, unfortunately, of the murders, the unsolved murders, had been over there in Planet X. And you may not like the term Planet X, but it's another planet, folks. The citizens over there, the good people of Planada, are held hostage by a few of the turds over there, a few of the scraps, a few of the gangbangers that don't know any better, and they're afraid, and they live in fear. And Larry is a prosecutor. It's like Law and Order. If anybody's watched that show, one of a show that I like, the first half of the show, the police go out and they get the suspects, and then they turn it over to the district attorney, and the district attorney prosecutes it, and you see the court case, Law and Order. And what Larry was complaining about, and what he felt the problem was, is the sheriff's department wasn't committing enough resources to the law side of things. Now, you could say maybe it was a posturing for his Lieutenant Lunny, that he's trying to get promoted into the sheriff's position. I don't know. There may be a little truth to that. But the point is Larry can't prosecute a damn thing unless somebody brings him a suspect.
No, and I understand that. And I understand being critical of John because, that was in his district. But, I mean, we've had murder after murder after murder in Winton. Yeah, at the time when Larry, blew off his steam, yeah, there were more predominantly higher casualties in Planada than anywhere else. But now, with all these killings and goings-on in Winton, how come he's not giving Deidre Kelsey her scathing expressions of his dismay? How come he's not going to her and saying, hey, Deidre, what are you doing?
I don't know, and we'll get Larry in. Like I say, it's the silly season, as I call it. The politicos are all trying to run for office. Larry's running unopposed, but that doesn't mean he's not accountable. I think we can all agree in there that Larry's been a very forthcoming guest. Like you say, we may not like what he has to say, but he'll tell you what's on his mind. And he can take the criticism. He can take the Citizen Watch heat. Some of the others are too afraid, too scared to come in and sit down there in Studio C. But Larry's not afraid. And I know Larry will come in and talk about it, just like we're going to ask all the sheriff's candidates,
Casey,
Mr. Money, Mr. Swigert, Mr. Warnicki, a couple others that I can't remember their names. We're going to ask them what they're doing about the murders, the killing fields in Merced.
Okay.
Well, that's what we're going to do. One thing I wanted to talk about just a little bit on the Sacramento front, I just want to commend the fine Democrats up there having another one of your boys arrested for felonies. Senator Leland Yee out of San Francisco there, arrested yesterday for arms trafficking. This guy has the balls to sit up there and try to pass gun legislation against the common citizen. Meanwhile, he's over there working with, as he didn't know it, an undercover FBI agent trying to sell shoulder-fired missiles, guns, arms, selling his office for political favors to get legislation passed. Well, they hooked him up yesterday. They put him in the pen. And, of course, Steinberg says, well, you should resign, Mr. Lee. We don't need your problems. Well, what about Rod Wright? What about Calderon? How come you're not making them resign?
Yeah, I thought that was odd.
Put them on paid leave. What's wrong? What's the difference between Senator Lee and Rod Wright and Calderon, huh, Mr. Steinberg?
Well,
what's the difference? The only good thing that comes out of this is they lose their supermajority, and hopefully they lose their clout, and they'll be called out as the hypocrites that they really are.
Yeah,
How dare you sit in judgment of me? This is why we have a Second Amendment, is just because of people like this. Because if we can't defend ourselves, these kind of people will run all over us.
One of the things that really kind of caught my attention about this Lee guy was that he was tightly affiliated with a street gang. There was a guy that he was dealing with named Shrimp Boy.
Up there in Chinatown, the corruption is just like the mafia.
Yeah.
It's like an Asian version of the Godfather up there in Chinatown. Yep. This guy is no better than any of those people, and yet he's held up in high esteem. He makes the laws of this state, and we see him for what he really is, a felon. He's a felon.
Well, I agree with Case. I was like, okay, Calderon and Wright, okay, why? And I thought, well, maybe it was, but they're all three minorities. I thought maybe it was a minority thing. I thought, well, maybe Lee will get will get different kind of treatment because he's from San Francisco, because, that stuff carries political clout. But when Steinberg wanted to cut him loose, I'm going, what's going on there?
Yeah, what's the difference between Rod Wright and Mr. Calderon, huh? The Hispanic caucus up there is knee-deep in Calderon's little shenanigans. Every one of Calderon's family members is somehow involved in government. You can't tell me the fruit don't fall far from the tree, folks. I guarantee you they're all a little dirty. But yet these people make the laws that dictate to yours and my life. There's never enough money. We got to pass more taxes, and they're corrupt.
And
they're as corrupt as the day is long.
And guess what? They always want a pay raise. The minute they sniff a little black, it's time for the legislatures to get a pay raise. They got a 5% pay raise.
They gave them a pay raise, didn't they?
And they want another one because it didn't make up for the give back that they had. And I'm like, you know what? Here's what I think. And people know this. I talk consumer finance and some things, but why isn't everything fluid? Okay, when money is good, yes, you expand. When money's tight, we contract. I'm having a problem with something I read. Maybe we'll talk about on Tuesday. But the Farm Bill loophole stems cut in food stamps. Governors in several states are using a loophole in the Farm Bill to restore food aid for thousands of low-income people, potentially wiping out billions of dollars in savings that Congress agreed to last month. So here we go with projections. We're gonna save billions, and then all of a sudden some knothead over here goes, "Hey, there's a loophole. Hey, here, governors, this is so that all those low income people can just worm and cuddle themselves into your pocket because you want their vote."
Well, the only thing you can do is cut off the beast.
We don't have a revenue problem, folks.
We're almost time out, Case.
Problem.
Okay, go ahead.
What?
I said we're almost running out of time.
Oh, okay. That's our
because you
cue to
can't see
wrap
the
it
board.
up. Well, look, I just want to thank people for listening to Citizen Watch. Again, I appreciate those calls and comments coming in. Our tip line, let me give that out while I'm thinking about it. It's 209-406-8728. That's my personal phone number, folks. Any one of you can call that tip line, talk to me. Any of you supervisors, BOS up there on the third floor, please give me a call. Let's schedule a time where you can come on into Studio C. We'd love to have you sit down in the hot seat and take some questions. You don't even have to come in for the full 45 minutes. We know you got a busy schedule. You can only stay for 30 minutes at a council meeting or a supervisor's meeting, so we won't keep you long. We just want a couple of questions answered. And any of the citizens out there, the good folks that support our show, feel free to call advertising over there and advertise on KYOS. You'll get a lot of play. Anything, if our YouTube hits or anything like the listeners, your message will get out to a lot of people in Merced. You got anything, Steve? You've been kind of quiet.
No, just that, I always say that we're speaking to the people that have kind of become disenfranchised and disinterested and feel like their vote's futile. Folks, we're in trouble here. We're in big trouble here. The government's running amok. It's corrupt. And if you need to become engaged. And we got to take this back. I mean, and the only way we can take this back is by cutting off the head of the beast. And the way that we do that
pay attention first
is we pay attention, and we've no more tax increases, no more bond floats. We've got to cut off the lifeblood of these individuals and make them face the reality that they can't go on and on like this. They can't pad their retirements. They can't. They just got to. They have to stop abusing the system. And that's my 2 cents.
Robert?
Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
Goodbye.